Okay, so for today, this is going to be the week 2 assignment for reading the data dictionaries. And there are 4 scenarios that I'll be going through. The first one is you need to be aware of how many tables you will be managing with each database, and we were asked to have 3 of them. So the 3 that I'm going to be working with in today's assignment are Wide World Importers database, the Bowling League example database, and the recipes example database, because I like to cook. So to start off, the first question was, how many tables will you be managing? So to use that, I did that by looking at the tables, the sys.tables database, as well as the master files database, so that I could get information on the number of tables and such that were in there, as well as the create and modify dates. So to do that, I created the script here, which I will run. And this is for the Wide World Importers database, and the number of tables that we can see there shows you that there are a total of 48 tables, user tables, based on the type here. If I run the same thing here for the Bowling League example, it shows that there are 9 tables that are part of the user-defined tables. And then lastly, for the recipes database, it shows that there are 7 tables that I'll be managing there. So obviously, Wide World Importers definitely has the most tables to be managed. For the second question, it was asked of us to show what query, the query that would show there was a field that was too short to hold the information that was being typed into it, specifically at name field. So what I did is I wrote a script that would go through the objects table and the columns table, and would look for the max length of each of the columns so that I could see how long each column was. So if I run this first one here, this shows me that for the Wide World Importers that I have, again, we have 42 different fields that have the word name in them. So there's a potential that it could be any of these, but it allows me to see that the maximum length, what the maximum length is for each one, so that once I do identify exactly which database it is, then I can go in and I can modify that particular field to be a little bit longer to handle whatever the input is. I have the same for the Bowling League example, which shows 3 tables that have, or 3 columns that have the word name in it. And then for the recipes, as one might expect, there's not a lot of fields there, columns that have the word name, and they're both actually pretty long. Ingredient name being 510 spaces, and in sys diagrams, just name is 256. So again, not a lot. For question number 3, heavy hitters, what we're supposed to be showing, what I'm supposed to be showing here is how big are the databases that I'm managing, and in particular, are any of them particularly large? And in this case, I limited my results to anything that was a megabyte or larger, actually a gigabyte or larger. So if I run that, it shows me that I actually have one file that's really the major hitter, which is the Wide World Importers user data database, which is right around 2 megabytes, 2 gigabytes in size. So it's rather large. as well, I can see that of the 3 databases that I'm managing, total size of all of the tables that are included in each database, Wide World Importers is a little over 3 gigs, and then about 3 gigs. And then Bowling League and Recipes Example each come in at 16 megabytes. So relatively small. For question 4, we were asked to look, and I'm also supposed to show where I can find this information. So if I go to here, and I look for the file. So give me just a second here. And go to this PC. We go to the C drive, to users. Program files, SQL Server, MySQL, data, and then we can see where the folders are that hold the files, including the worldwide importers user data, which again, right about 3 gigabytes. So then the last question was actually to look for additional things that I might find interesting. So to do that, one of the things that I thought might be helpful is to actually utilizing, based on the last question, was just keeping a record of where each of the files is at any given time that I'm managing, and how big each of those files happens to currently be in terms of megabytes. Just thought that this would be something that I could use because it helped me actually to answer in the last question as to where were the files being stored. So I kind of thought that was an interesting one to do. And then the last one here is to check and see which columns have been modified during the last month. I thought that might be interesting to kind of keep tabs on which items are being modified. Now, I run this for each of my databases, and I can see, for instance, for Wide World Importers, nothing has currently been modified this month. But if I run the same query on the other 2 databases, I can see that there have been several files. For instance, in the Bowling League example, I can see that there have been 36 files that have been updated in the last 30 days. Or 1 month. And if I do the same thing for the recipes, I can see again that there have been 25 files that have been modified. And this is something that I could use to kind of keep tabs on which files are getting used a lot and which ones are, maybe not so used. If I were to generate something that said, okay, look, show me something that hasn't been used in the last 30 days. But that's what I came up with. And I think that it shows that I've been able to put together some pretty good queries here. So thank you and have a great day.